The miraculous secrets of Solomon's harem. Discover God's transforming plan revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, Jerusalem stood resplendent, a jewel of the ancient world. The temple gleamed in the sunlight, a symbol of divine presence and acceptance, while the royal harem of King Solomon bustled with life. Within this spacious enclosure, nestled amongst palm trees and fragrant gardens, resided Naamah, a Canaanite woman of deep-rooted heritage, now capturing the allure of Solomon's wisdom. Naamah often recalled her forefathers, the resilient warriors who once struck fear into Israel's heart. Yet, beneath the vibrant tapestry of her Canaanite legacy, a flicker of longing began, a yearning for something beyond the idols she had worshipped. As the sun dipped beyond the hills, imbuing the sky with hues of crimson and gold, the whispers of Yahweh, the God of Israel, echoed in the corridors of her heart, beckoning her to inquire deeper. Naamah moved gracefully through the palace gardens, the rich scent of myrrh filling the air. Yet within her a spiritual void persisted, even among the feasts laden with opulent food and exotic flavors. She sought solace in secret, finding a quiet space where she could commune with the divine. In hushed tones, she whispered her prayers, asking for understanding and strength. Shadows of her lineage loomed, and fiercely did they contest her budding faith. One fateful day, as a brewing storm darkened the horizon and fear gripped Jerusalem, Naamah's fragile state was put to the test. With drought consuming the land, the streets echoed with cries for mercy. King Solomon, renowned for his wisdom, ascended to the temple, interceding for his people. Naamah felt an irresistible pull toward the gathering, her heart racing as he knelt before the altar, petitioning the Lord for intervention. As he called upon the name above all names, she was riveted by the sincerity in his voice. Memories of manna from heaven flooded her mind, and in that moment a sweet, gentle whisper danced through the air, promising, "I will provide for you." Doubt loomed like a thick fog, whispering for her to cling to her ancestral gods. Yet the divine invitation seeped into her soul, stirring a deeper conviction. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Trembling with urgency and wrapped in the tempest of doubt and desire, Naamah stepped forth, raising her voice to the chaotic skies. "If all these years I have worshipped in vain," she implored, "show me, O Lord, the truth that can liberate me." The heavens churned, the winds howled, and a deluge fell upon the earth, drenching the parched ground, a miraculous sign igniting her heart. With her spirit stirred, Naamah experienced a transformative revelation, the collision of her birthright and a covenant promise offered by the living God. Through the commotion of the storm, her soul danced upon the precipice of faith and tradition. As raindrops mingled with the tears of her emerging belief, she stood at a crossroads that would ripple through her legacy and beyond. How would she reconcile the sacred truths unveiled before her with the ties of her past? There, within the royal harem, Naamah's journey began, culminating in a divine call that awaited her response in awe and trembling. As the storm subsided and the heavens cleared, the people of Jerusalem emerged from their shelters, damp and awestruck. The echoes of Naamah's proclamation lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the sacred dialogue between heaven and earth. She stood trembling amidst the multitude, her once familiar fears now overshadowed by an imminent truth. In the days following the storm, The drought lifted as streams of water flowed anew through the land, replenishing the soil and hearts of the people. Solomon, now aware of Naamah's stirring faith, sought her out. With eyes reflecting the remnant of divine encounter, he approached her, and his voice resonated with compassion. "Naamah, your cry did not go unheard. The Lord has heard your plea. What has stirred in you shall not be in vain." "Great King," she responded, her voice wavering like the flickering candlelight, "I am but a foreigner, a daughter of Canaan. How can I serve this God who answers the prayers of strangers?" Solomon studied her, perceiving the depth of her yearning intertwined with uncertainty. "Within you lies a spirit of courage. The Lord delights in your inquiry. Seek him with all your heart, and you shall find the truth you long for." Encouraged by his words, Naamah ventured daily into the temple courts, drawn like a moth to a flame. The sacred site brimmed with worshippers devoted to the one true God, their prayers curling heavenward like fragrant incense. Among them, Naamah stood resolute. With each prayer, she surrendered her fears, laying them at the altar. Days turned into weeks, and with each sunrise, Naamah felt the shackles of her past loosening. She learned from the people of Israel. Their songs spoke of deliverance, of promises fulfilled, and of God's unwavering love. The fear that had once gripped her heart was replaced with hope. Yet still, the shadows of her ancestry whispered regret and hostility. "Your lineage does not belong to this people," they taunted. But Naamah held tightly to the word of Solomon, chosen servant of the Lord, who had seen the potential of transformation within her. And it was within the quietest hour of dusk, as she meditated on the goodness of God, that a vision unfolded before her. An ethereal light filled her mind's eye, revealing a tapestry woven with lives touched by grace. She beheld the triumphs of the faithful, the redemption of the lost, and the promise of new beginnings. "O Lord, let my life be woven into this divine narrative," she prayed, her heart aching with need for purpose. Her boldness grew, and one day she approached Solomon with new determination. "Great King, I wish to dedicate my life to the God of Israel. I desire to serve him and his people. Help me to understand this calling." In his wisdom, Solomon guided her, leading her deeper into the scriptures, sharing tales of faith where the mighty fell and the lowly rose to prominence under God's hand. Naamah felt the Spirit move within her, a vibrant call entwined with the heart of God. During a celebration of the harvest, she stood amidst the gathered throngs, her heart swelling with gratitude. As worship erupted, she realized she was no longer an outsider disguised among the faithful. She had found her place, an integral part of the story being authored by the Lord. Yet unbeknownst to Naamah, her transformation harbored greater significance. The winds of divine providence began to weave an intricate plot, one leading toward generations yet to come. But what she did not know was how her name would echo through time, intertwining the strands of her story with that of kings and nations. As the seeds of her faith blossomed, the legacy of Naamah would become a beacon of hope, echoing testimonies of God's promise yet unfulfilled. The Lord was calling forth a plan with such depth that it would change the course of history, leading to an ultimate revelation, one that would expand his kingdom beyond borders, affecting both Israel and the nations. The tapestry was being woven, and Naamah's faith was a thread in a divine plan to reveal the salvation that would come through unforeseen channels. In the fullness of time, as the days of harvest brightened the fields of Judah, an air of expectation permeated the city. News of Naamah's fervent prayers and her captivating presence at the temple spread, reaching the hearts of both commoners and nobles alike. Many spoke in hushed tones, marveling at how the God of Israel had extended his mercy not just to the chosen people, but also to a daughter of a foreign land. "Can it be true," they whispered, "that the Lord would accept this Canaanite woman as his own?" Yet not all were pleased. Some among the elders of Israel eyed Naamah with suspicion, their hearts clinging to ancestral pride and racial purity. "She is not of our lineage," they would say, casting glances filled with disdain. "How can our God abide with her?" But amidst the jealous whispers, Naomi, a wise elder whose heart was turned toward compassion, stepped forth. "Do you not remember the story of Ruth, who bound herself to our God and became a matriarch in Israel?" She reminded them, her voice steady and authoritative. "The Lord's mercies are deeper than our understanding." Naamah felt encouraged by Naomi's defense, her spirit uplifted like olive branches swaying in the breeze. Each day she delved further into the sacred scrolls, persisting in her desire to know the God who enveloped her with grace. She took to heart the words of Solomon, echoing wisdom from Proverbs: "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." Proverbs 3:5. As the moon bathed the temple in silver light, Naamah found herself increasingly drawn to the mysteries whispered among the priests. One night, as she lingered in prayer, she felt an ancient stillness before the Holy of Holies. Entranced, she listened as the voice of God resonated clearly within her. "Daughter, I have called you by name. You are mine." Isaiah 43:1. Overwhelmed by the presence of the Almighty, Naamah's heart leapt with joy and solemnity. She understood in that moment that her purpose was not merely to serve, but to become a vessel of hope, a bloom in a field of grace. Her resolve solidified, for she yearned to tell her story and to testify of the God who transforms every heart. In an assembly gathering, where all Jerusalem came to give thanks for the bounty that the Lord had provided, Solomon took to the platform. His presence radiated authority and wisdom, yet it was his compassion that captivated the multitude. He spoke of unity and divine love, of how God desires all souls to seek him. "Remember," he cautioned, "the Lord's kindness was shown through a Moabite woman who became part of our lineage. Do not despise the stranger, for they may be closer to the heart of God than you know." The crowd murmured, and Naamah felt the weight of their eyes. She seized the moment, summoning her courage. With trembling hands, she stepped forward. "People of Jerusalem," she declared, "I am Naamah of Canaan, and I have found the true God among you. His mercy has transformed my life." At her courageous declaration, silence gripped the assembly. But then, as sunlight pierces the shadows, a ripple of whispers gave way to heartfelt responses. Adults nodded, children were intrigued, and some even stepped closer, bearing witness to the miracle unfolding before their eyes. Naamah spoke of her past, her fears, and her newfound identity in the Lord, and as she shared, she sensed that her confession was more than a testimonial. It was a sacred unveiling, a note of a divine symphony being composed. Little did Naamah know that her profound declaration of faith would echo into eternity, for God was weaving an unparalleled promise through her lineage. Her obedience and commitment drew her closer to a covenant that linked her story with the kings to come, proclaiming a prophetic truth to the nations. Yet unbeknownst to her, a new chapter loomed on the horizon, where faith would bloom amidst trials, and the hand of God would reveal a salvation that all creation awaited. As Naamah's journey unfolded, the whispers of heaven beckoned with a truth yet to be unveiled, one that would seal the purpose of her faith into the ancient destinies of Israel. As the sun rose upon the city of Jerusalem, casting its golden rays upon the temple, the hearts of the people were abuzz with anticipation. Naamah's testimony had stirred both curiosity and inspiration. Many sought to find a glimpse of the foreign woman whose faith had caught the attention of God. Along the bustling streets, murmurs of her bravery echoed, and numerous souls began to ponder the depths of God's grace. Amidst this fervor, the elders convened again. Their faces bore the harrow of division between tradition and transformation, pride and humility. "We must address this matter," one elder insisted, his voice trembling with authority. Naamah's presence disrupts the purity of our ancestors. Can we allow her influence to spread like leaven among us? But Naomi stood resolute, the weight of wisdom etched upon her brow. The Lord sees not as man sees. He has chosen to reveal his love where we least expect it. Let us not hinder the work of his hand. The gathering fell silent. Even the opposition felt the churning of God's Spirit in their hearts. In the days that followed, Solomon, concerned yet intrigued by these developments, summoned Naamah to his court. He was not a king who feared the foreigner, but rather one who sought understanding. With regal patience he spoke, "Naamah of Canaan, you have found favor in the sight of my people, yet our laws bind us to our heritage. What is it that you seek?" Naamah, filled with reverence and awe, approached the altar of the king. "Your Majesty," she began, her voice steady, "I seek not to usurp your lineage, but to understand the breadth of the mercy of the Almighty. He has called me to be a beacon of hope, and I stand before you willing to serve both God and the people of Israel." A collective breath was taken. The court was enraptured by the candor of her heart. Solomon, whose wisdom was renowned, considered her words carefully. "Your words bear the mark of truth, yet they also carry a burden. It is not an easy thing to traverse the path of acceptance in a divided land. What will you do when trials come?" Naamah's spirit soared, emboldened by the question. "My heart is steadfast. I will trust in the Lord with my whole being. His promise is my strength." Over the following weeks, Naamah began to serve alongside the priests, sharing her insights and swiftly earning the respect of many. Yet the elders continued to conspire, fanning the flames of discord. One night, heavy with trepidation, they gathered again in secret, plotting to undermine Naamah's influence and question her dedication. She is an outsider. Can her faith truly withstand the trials that belong to our lineage? One elder proclaimed. And so, the tension that hung over Jerusalem grew thick like the clouds before a storm. In the midst of it all, Naamah received a vision, an overwhelming sense that the Almighty was preparing her not only for trials, but for the redemptive work that would ripple through the generations. She would bear witness not merely as a solitary figure, but as an important link in the chain of God's divine orchestration. One evening, as the sun set in hues of crimson and gold, Naamah ascended the steps to the temple, where her heart yearned to draw near to God. In that sacred space, she poured out her worries, her fears, and her hopes. The weight of the moment she faced pressed down upon her, but as she prayed, she felt the familiar stirrings of divine peace enveloping her. "Fear not, daughter," came the gentle whisper, "for your faith shall be a vessel of promises yet to be fulfilled, and through you my kingdom will see the light of hope." Unseen by Naamah, eyes were watching from the shadows, and hearts were stirred in ways unfamiliar. The elders, witnessing her unwavering faith, began to question the very foundation of their convictions. Could it be that a divine plan was unfolding before them? Yet as Naamah left the temple that evening, she didn't yet grasp the profundity of her calling. For in the tapestry of God's purpose, her story would intertwine with the legacy of kings, and the lineage of redemption would glide forth into the waiting world. Little did they all know that the time to unveil the sovereign arc of God's design was nearing, and the pride of lineage would soon clash with the glory of divine heritage, proclaiming a promise that would transcend all understanding. As Naamah stepped gracefully from the sacred confines of the temple, the evening air wrapped around her like a soft embrace. Yet the peace she sought was marred by a shadow of intrigue that loomed over Jerusalem. The whispers of the elders drifted on the wind, their hearts entwined in a web of jealousy and fear. "Beware," they hushed among themselves, "for her influence may lead our people astray. The tradition of our fathers must not be challenged by a foreign faith." Naamah, sensing the discontent brewing behind her, steadfastly turned her heart toward the Almighty. "Help me, O Lord," she prayed inwardly, her thoughts a mix of trepidation and hope. In the court of Solomon, the complex dynamics began to shift. The king, wise in his judgments, convened a gathering of the leading men of Israel. "We shall hear your voices concerning Naamah," he proclaimed, "for the Lord's favor is upon her. We must discern if she embodies the spirit of his covenant or if she is merely a fleeting shadow." Elders rose one by one to voice their concerns. "She is an outsider," cried one, his voice trembling with conviction. "Is it not written that our lineage must be preserved? What of the covenant with our ancestors?" Yet Solomon considered the depth of this charge. "Who am I to cast out those whom God has called?" he countered, his tone steady. "Is it not the Lord himself who whispered to us of mercy and inclusion?" With hearts both heavy and hopeful, the assembly turned toward Naamah, who stood before them with her evident grace. "Your king has spoken, and I am here in humility, not to rebuke our ways, but to learn what it means to be part of this covenant." At that moment, a calm settled over the assembly. "Do you not know," Solomon continued, "that God's love is not constrained by borders? Even in our forefathers, Rahab's faith was counted as righteousness." A murmur rippled through the crowd, recalling the tale of their ancestor who had hidden the spies, who had dared to trust in the God of Israel. The elders shifted uncomfortably, their resolve tested against the undeniable truth that wisdom might be found in the most unexpected places. "In these days," Naamah spoke, her voice reverberating with a divine strength, "I have seen the love of God manifest in my own heart. I yearn to carry forth his redemptive work." As she spoke, silence fell, as if the heavens had paused to listen. But deep in the chambers of power, dissent festered. Another elder, his eyes glinting with a mixture of envy and determination, approached Solomon. "Your Majesty," he began, "if we allow her to remain, what of our standing among the nations? Our very identity as the chosen people could be at stake." The king regarded him with a heavy heart, understanding the weight of tradition against the burden of revelation. "What price shall we pay for holding tightly to our identity while denying the grace God extends even to the Gentiles? Is it not our task to reflect his heart?" For as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows over Jerusalem, the struggle between the old and new tightened its grip. Naamah sensed the storm brewing, yet her faith remained unshaken. "Fear not, O people of God," she declared, "for he who called me will reveal his purpose in his time." And in that moment, the tension within the council hung thick like incense before the altar, the air charged with divine expectation. What new revelations awaited them? The hearts of the people resonated with hope as they began to understand that within Naamah's story lay a divine tapestry being woven by the hands of the Almighty. For the time was drawing near when the ultimate purpose of God would be revealed, a purpose not confined to any single race or lineage, but one that promised redemption for all mankind. In the quiet recesses of the temple, a light flickered. Naamah could feel it, a divine whisper beckoning, reminding her that her journey was only beginning, and the promises of God were deeper than she could fathom. Would this unified heart lead Israel into a new covenant unveiled by the Lord? Or would the forces of tradition snuff out the flame of hope rising from the heart of a foreigner? The path lay before them all, yet only the sovereign plan of God could weave all things into his perfect will. As the gathering surged with tension, the echoes of discord flowed through the chambers like a storm-laden wind. The elders of Israel, steeped in tradition and cloaked in the weight of their ancestors' choices, felt their hearts wrestle against the promise of change that flickered in Naamah's presence. The walls of the palace seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the final decree of Solomon, the wise ruler steered by both divine inspiration and human frailty. "Let us beseech the Lord together," Solomon urged, raising his hands, palms open toward the heavens, as his voice rang out in fervent prayer. "Almighty God, who knows the depths of our hearts, grant us clarity. Show us your will." Naamah, heart pounding with both fear and anticipation, knelt beside the king, her spirit yearning for acceptance, yet burdened with the weight of her heritage. "O Lord, if it be your will, let me be a vessel of your grace," she prayed in silence, her fingers tracing the cool earth beneath her as she sought his guidance. The council members fell into solemn silence, the presence of the Lord enveloping them like a holy mist. After a moment that felt like eternity, a rumbling voice of prophecy arose from the depths of the assembly. "The Lord spoke through the prophet Isaiah," an elder declared, his voice quavering slightly yet resolute, saying, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations." Isaiah 56:7. Are we, his chosen, to dismantle that which he has prophesied? Whispers of affirmation and confusion swirled among the men. They were torn, grappling with a truth that echoed in their hearts, yet clashed against the fortress of tradition they had built. "Indeed, let us not disregard the works of the Almighty," another elder spoke, his resolve strengthening. "If our God seeks to gather the scattered and broken into his fold, shall we block the doors he has opened?" Solomon, sensing the shifting tide of opinion, stood with an imposing figure, his eyes scanning the faces of his people. "Behold, we stand at a crossroad. It is not merely Naamah that divides us, it is the truth of God's unfathomable love," he said, his voice now resonating with authority. "If we deny God's expansive grace, we risk turning our hearts away from him." But as reason began to anchor hope among some, the dissenting elder pressed closer, dark clouds gathering in his countenance. "Your Majesty," he snarled, "it is folly to embrace one who does not share our blood, our lineage. What of the promises made to our fathers? Shall we shatter our covenant for a mere whisper of change?" Naamah felt the weight of his challenge, yet firm in her resolve, she rose amid the assembly, her visage aflame with divine courage. "I am not here to replace, but to be redeemed. My lineage is not born of Israel, but my heart belongs to the God who calls to all who will listen. Am I not made in his image?" The assembly buzzed with a rising intensity. The spirit of a foreigner echoed in the hearts of those who recalled the acceptance of Rahab, a harlot transformed into a matriarch through faith. As the recollection of God's redemptive power resounded, the tension began to soften, and one by one, the hearts hardened by fear found themselves thawed by her testimony. At this pivotal moment, a golden light filled the court, bathing Naamah in an ethereal glow. A divine presence enveloped her, and the murmurs ceased. "The Lord has heard our prayers," Solomon declared, his voice now a clarion call to unity. "He will lead us in unveiling his purposes." In that profound silence, whispers of hope fluttered like wings among the people. The turn of hearts had begun, calling forth a new chapter inspired by Naamah's faith and Solomon's wisdom. Suddenly, there was a stirring in the shadows of the court. A voice, low yet potent, spoke in obscured tones, carrying an omen that set the air alight with foreboding. "But what you do not know, O chosen people, is that this acceptance is but the beginning of a great and terrible work unfolding among you." Naamah felt the weight of those words dance around her, awakening within her the realization that a broader plan was at hand. What mysteries lay within the divine will? What transformation was God orchestrating through this unfolding story of faith and redemption? The seeds of a new covenant had been sown, and only the sovereignty of God held the ultimate purpose. As the solemn silence hung in the air, Solomon's heart pounded within him like a thunderous drum. The prophetic utterance weighed upon him, stirring both dread and anticipation. He turned his gaze toward Naamah, her countenance radiant with an unearthly light. The assembly was hushed, their breath held captive by the tension surrounding the moment. "Let it be known," Solomon proclaimed, his voice unwavering, "that we shall not shy away from the Lord's designs. The heart of our God beats with mercy, calling each of us to partake in his divine plan." His words reverberated through the hall, invigorating some while rendering others restless with fear. But the dissenting elder, his brow furrowed, stepped forward defiantly. "And what of our identity, O king? Are we to relinquish that which is holy for the sake of such a foreign influence? The law speaks with clarity." He raised his voice, the tremor betraying his uncertainty. "Shall we forget what the Lord pronounced through Moses? You shall not intermarry with them." Deuteronomy 7:3. Naamah felt the weight of his words, but within her heart a fire burned, a conviction that transcended fear. "What if the Lord's heart is that his love breaks the barriers we have set?" she articulated, her voice rising with passion. "Was it not he who parted the seas, who welcomed the stranger among his own? Look to the stories of old, the Canaanite woman who pleaded for her daughter, whose faith sparked the Messiah's ministry." Solomon leaned forward, emboldened by her words. "Let us remember, my brethren, that God's promises extend beyond bloodlines. They breathe life into all who are willing to accept his covenant of grace. For he told us, 'For I know the plans I have for you.' Jeremiah 29:11. Not just for the children of Abraham, but for all nations." A murmur of agreement surged through the assembly, yet fear still clung like shadows to some hearts. It was in that heated moment that a rustle echoed from the chamber's recesses, and a young woman emerged, cloaked in humility and grace. She knelt before the sovereign, her eyes alight with tears. "O king," she entreated, "may I speak?" "Speak, daughter," Solomon granted, recognizing the weight of her spirit. With a trembling voice, she declared, "I was cast aside, an outcast of our own people, but I have found acceptance among those whom tradition deems unworthy. I stand as witness of the Lord's faithfulness. When the walls of Jericho fell, it was my faith that saved my family. I too belonged among the broken, yet was summoned by grace." The hearts of many stirred, remembering the story of Rahab and the transformative power of trust in God. Inspiration surged as they reflected on his faithfulness to the faithful. Yet, in the shadows, the ominous voice echoed again, a portent of looming trials. "You misjudge the depths of his plan, O people of the Lord. Acceptance is but the first step of a journey rife with strife. Will your faith endure when the fires of testing blaze?" A sharp silence fell, the air thick with unease. Solomon, once again infused with the spirit of divine wisdom, spoke, "Fear not, for the Lord who called us to this convergence will accompany us through every trial. Remember, we are his chosen vessels, called to reconcile, to bear witness to the world of his unfathomable love." In that moment, Naamah felt a stirring within her, a deepened understanding that God's grace was already at work, stirring hearts toward his purpose. As the assembly began to share murmurs of unity, the horizon of their journey opened before them, a path laden with uncertainties, yet glowing with the promise of redemption. Naamah's heart soared, kindled by hope. "What shall we become then?" she whispered into the stillness, as chains bound by fear shattered before the dawn of divine acceptance. Yet the shadows in the court whispered doom still, longing for division and strife. What awaited the assembly was unclear, but within, the flame of faith ignited a powerful force, rooted in the love of a God who transcended boundaries and beckoned his children to embrace the fullness of his sovereign plan. Thus it began, the unfolding of his promise, a testament of grace, where faith ignites and transformation ignites. What wonders awaited them in the sacred tapestry of divine will, no one could fathom fully. As the weight of the moment settled over the assembly, Solomon's words echoed with profound authority, stirring the hearts of those who longed for clarity. The atmosphere was electric, filled with unspoken fears and flickering hopes. Solomon, taking a deep breath, gazed earnestly at Naamah before addressing all within the great hall. Indeed, sisters and brothers, the fears that clutch at our hearts may lead us to uncertainty, but remember the words of our forefather Abraham, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Genesis 18:14. His voice resonated with a divine certainty that silenced even the most hesitant among them. And then he raised his hands, seeking the attention of every man and woman present. We stand at a precipice, a moment ordained by God who has woven us into his great design. What if these foreign influences are not barriers, but bridges to the newness that God is about to unleash among us? The dissenting elder stepped back, momentarily caught in the thunder of Solomon's conviction. Silence fell heavy as the weight of his words penetrated the hearts of the assembly. It was Naamah who broke the stillness. "It is true, O king, that we are called not only to dwell on our past, but to embrace what the Lord is placing before us. For as it is written, 'Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?'" Isaiah 43:19. Let us discern this new path together. Encouraged by her faith, several voices began to murmur in agreement, a soft chorus building into a wave. But from the back of the hall, another voice, sharp like a dagger, interjected. "Your words are dangerous, Naamah. The people fear, and rightly so. What you propose may lead us away from our heritage. Shall we throw ourselves upon the mercy of those whom our ancestors abhorred?" Solomon's gaze turned sharply to the accuser. The Lord's mercy is greater than our fears, and his plans encompass every nation. Did not the prophet Jonah run from his command, and yet God used him to save a city of Nineveh? Would we be like Jonah, unwilling to witness his hand at work among the Gentiles? The assembly fell into a murmur of speculation, wrestling within themselves the tension of identity against belief. Naamah, emboldened further by the king's words, raised her arms as if to gather their collective fears. Let us not forget the promise made to our forefathers, for in their lineage all nations shall be blessed. Genesis 12:3. Shall we not be conduits of such blessing? As her fervent plea hung in the air, a low rumble of agreement rippled through the crowd, but uncertainty remained. With the unease palpable, a stranger had quietly moved from the back, an emissary from a neighboring land, sent forth in divine orchestration. He bore news, a tale of desperation and hope that would challenge their understanding of God's unfolding kingdom. "I come not as an adversary, but as one seeking peace," the emissary spoke, his voice laced with urgency. "Our lands have been ravaged, and I stand as a representative of those who have heard of the great wisdom of Solomon. We wish to form an alliance that shall glorify the name above every name." Intrigued, the assembly leaned closer, the tension shifting from division to curiosity. Solomon, sensing the weight of this moment, moved to the forefront. "And what would this alliance mean for both our peoples?" he inquired. "Unity in our service to the Most High God," the emissary replied, his eyes gleaming with sincerity. "For is it not also written, 'In those days it shall come to pass that 10 men from every language of the nations shall grasp the sleeve of a Jewish man, saying, Let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you.'" Zechariah 8:23. The hall erupted in whispers and gasps, the realization igniting within them a deeper understanding of God's expansive vision for humanity. But as excitement began to build, the dark shadows lingering in their hearts whispered warnings of resistance and confusion. Solomon, recognizing this struggle, stepped back forward, his voice like a clarion call piercing through despair. "Let us heed the Lord's command to love even our enemies, for his love knows no borders and cannot be contained." What if, within this alliance, God's ultimate plan for redemption unfolds? A vibrant pulse of hope surged within Naamah, echoing her earlier conviction. Yet deep within the collective heart of the assembly, the question remained: would they dare to trust in the unfolding sovereign purpose of God during times of uncertainty? As voices stirred in momentum, Naamah's heart raced. In the midst of rising fervor, she sensed the unvoiced tumult of trials ahead, a reminder that with each step forward came a crossroad where faith would be tested. And as whispers of unity ignited hopes anew, the assembly prepared for the journey ahead, undaunted yet aware that hidden within their covenantal path lay threads of divine mystery which would reveal God's unshakable sovereign plan still unfolding, more profound than they could yet comprehend. And it came to pass that as the murmurs of the assembly swelled, the emissary stood steadfast, unwavering amidst the shifting tides of thought. The flickering torches cast shadows that danced upon the walls, imbuing the scene with an air of both reverence and uncertainty. Solomon, seizing the sacred momentum, beckoned them to silence once more. "Brothers and sisters," he said with unwavering resolve, "what we decide in this hour impacts not only our lineage, but the very fabric of God's eternal purpose. He is not constrained by our understanding. Indeed, as it is written, 'For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord.'" Isaiah 55:8. Shall we not open our hearts to this divine mystery? As the echoes of his words filled the hall, an elder, weary with questions and doubt, stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "O King, what assurance do we have that this alliance shall bear fruit? What if our trust is misplaced, and our covenant with the Most High is tainted by the yoke of foreign hands?" Solomon regarded him thoughtfully, for he recognized the wisdom and caution behind the elder's concern. Yet what greater folly would it be than to close our hearts to what God has ordained? Have we not seen the hand of our Lord move through the ages, even among those seen as outcasts? Did we not witness the faith of Rahab, the harlot, whose bold trust saved her family? Joshua 2:9-13. She was a Gentile, yet became part of our heritage. A ripple of realization spread through the crowd. They recalled the scriptures, the stories of old, woven into the tapestry of their collective memory, a reminder that God's grace reached far beyond borders. Naamah then spoke, her voice glowing with the intensity of divine conviction. "King Solomon, we sit at the confluence of faith and challenge. It is true that God's hand works in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Let us not forget the words of the psalmist. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures through all generations. Psalm 145:13. If we unite in his service, we may see his redemptive work unfold before our very eyes. The assembly fell into contemplative silence, each soul wrestling with the gravity of Naamah's words. The emissary's gaze held steadfast, while the flickering lights revealed the anxiety etched upon many faces. What new trials lay ahead? Could they truly embrace this alliance without losing their identity? Solomon, seeing their hesitance, offered a new perspective. Consider this: God often calls us beyond our comfort zones. Did he not lead our ancestor Moses to confront Pharaoh, to liberate a people from bondage? Exodus 3:10. The path set before us may indeed be fraught with peril, yet within it lie the seeds of promise and hope. Just then, an elder woman rose, her voice trembling yet resolute. "If we choose to walk in this alliance, then let us do so with prayer and discernment. For as it is written, 'If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and will heal their land.'" 2 Chronicles 7:14. Let us seek his counsel above all else. At her words, the assembly felt the weight of divine pivot settling upon their hearts. An invisible hand beckoned them toward unity forged in prayerful obedience. They began to whisper prayers amongst themselves, the air thick with supplication and yearning for clarity. As the hour advanced, Solomon stepped forward, his expression firm yet hopeful. Let us be bold in our pursuit of God's vision. An alliance may present risks, but in our vulnerabilities God's strength will be made manifest. We must go forth united, our eyes set on the greater narrative God is weaving, a tale of redemption that spans the earth. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. A palpable sense of faith ignited, empowering the assembly to cast aside their fears. With hearts drawn together in shared purpose, they prepared to embrace this venture, trusting in a sovereign Lord. And yet, with mingled hope and trepidation, an unresolved question lingered in their minds. What transformational trials awaited, and what glorious mysteries lay hidden within God's sovereign plan, yet to be revealed? As the sun set over Jerusalem, casting long shadows across the city, a new chapter began to unfold, one that bore the weight of promise, intertwined with uncertainty. Naamah, now standing firm in her faith, sensed the stirring of the Almighty's hand moving among her people. "O Lord," she whispered in prayer, "let your divine purpose be fulfilled through me and us all." In the days that followed, the atmosphere within the palace grew increasingly charged. News of a desired alliance spread beyond the walls, reaching temples, markets, and homes. Many rallied to support the potential partnership, yet remnants of doubt simmered within the hearts of some elders. They questioned the wisdom of embracing a foreigner, fearing the erosion of their identity. Naamah found solace among those who believed in God's unending grace. Day by day, she witnessed the miracle of transformation in the people's hearts, a softening that could only be attributed to the movement of the Holy Spirit. Solomon, ever wise, sought to unite his people, urging them to seek the counsel of God that they might discern his will. Gathered once more in the great hall, the elders assembled to discuss matters with renewed fervor. Solomon stood at the helm, his expression a mixture of concern and hope. "Dear brothers and sisters," he addressed them, his voice ringing through the air, "we are at a juncture that requires us to trust in the unfolding plan of our God. Remember the great works he has accomplished among us." From the back of the assembly, an elder rose, his voice trembling with resolve. "I understand the desire for unity. Yet I implore you all, do not forget the law. How can we intertwine our fates with those outside of our covenant?" Naamah, emboldened by the wisdom of her king, stepped forward. "Is it not written that God's mercy is poured out to the nations? For he declared, 'I will bless those who bless you.' Genesis 12:3. My presence is not a threat, but a testament to his grace, a sign that our God desires no one to perish." As the weight of her words sunk into the crowd, a murmur of assent began to ripple through the gathering. Hearts once hardened by fear began to soften as stories of God's faithfulness and inclusion flooded their collective memory. "But what of trials yet unseen?" questioned another elder, his brow furrowed with doubt. "Are we prepared to face what may come, even if it disrupts our ways?" "We shall face them together," Solomon roared, clapping his hands together in fervor. "For if God is for us, who can stand against us? It is our united faith that will carry us through any storm. We shall be the light that pierces darkness." At this, a stirring excitement coursed through the assembly. Naamah took this moment, feeling the divine presence enveloping her. "Let us be like Ruth of old, who clung to Naomi, declaring, 'Your people shall be my people, and your God my God.' Ruth 1:16. We stand not just as individuals, but as a tapestry of God's chosen, woven together for his glory. With tears streaming down her face, many witnessed the efficacy of her faith manifesting before them. The elders began to nod, recognizing the divine imprint of acceptance and hope. As conversations deepened, alliances began to form, dialogue spawned understanding, and the assembly slowly shifted from suspicion to solidarity. The emissary, a representative of the neighboring nation who sought harmony, was present, reflecting the growing desire for unity. "Seen through the lens of faith," he asserted, "this alliance could strengthen us to shine as beacons of hope, amid a world yearning for peace. Days turned into weeks, and the whispers of unity echoed across Jerusalem. Solomon's heart rejoiced as he observed the transformation taking place from within his courts to the streets below. Together they sought the Lord's will through prayer and the wisdom of the Scriptures. Relations forged growing bonds, and each day was a testament to the redemption God offered to his people. Then one fateful day, the day came when the alliance was to be formalized, a momentous occasion marked by sacrifices and prayers, celebrated across both nations. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation as representatives gathered in the temple courtyard, vibrant banners of both nations entwined in a symbol of divine acceptance. "Let this day be known throughout the generations," spoke Solomon, standing firm before the assembly, "that the Lord has forged an everlasting covenant that transcends borders and unites hearts. May our combined faith glorify his name and usher forth the destiny designed for us." Naamah, witnessing the unfolding of God's sovereign plan, cried out with joy, "Let every nation know of his wonder and grace, for in our unity lies the essence of his promise. Our God desires to embrace and uplift all." And at that moment, as the skies opened up in luminous light, the presence of the Almighty washed over them, solidifying the alliance in divine approval. The people joined together with jubilant praise, echoing the fulfilled promises of the Lord. "Our God reigns, our God saves." In the following days, testimonies of miraculous works began to spread, revealing the profound impact of united faith. Hearts healed, communities restored, and lives transformed. The bond created through Naamah's journey became a shining example of how God orchestrates divine destiny, weaving all people together into one chorus of worship. As she stood among the community she had once viewed from the shadows, Naamah understood her story had intertwined with the eternal narrative of God's redemptive plan, a truth that grace knows no bounds. She would become a matriarch in a lineage that would echo in eternity. And so it was that faith, once ignited, spread like wildfire, the truth of God reaching across borders and generations, revealing the inclusivity of his divine promise, reaching even those outside of the covenant. Naamah, King Solomon, and the people of Jerusalem had, through trials and triumphs, embraced their calling as vessels of hope, forever changed by the fabric of his love. As the sun set over the horizon, they rejoiced, for they understood the tapestry of redemption was still being woven, and there remained more stories of grace yet to unfold. Now, dear friends, let us carry forth the courage of their convictions. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word as we journey together through more powerful biblical stories that transform lives. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to assist in sharing the incredible message of God's faithfulness through the algorithm. Comment below with your reflections and how this powerful story impacted your faith. Every voice matters, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. The world is yearning for the hope you have found.